Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to biology class, and today we are going to go through our topic 6.2, which is defining transpiration. Okay, so before we get into our new learning objective, let's do a summary of what we learned from our previous lesson. So we looked at the adaptations of the root hair cells. Remember that we do need to know that the function of the root hair cell is to absorb water, and they do this via diffusion and osmosis. Root hair cells also absorb minerals, for example, nitrate ions and magnesium ions, and these are they are absorbed by active transport. So what is the structure of the root hair cell? We need to talk about that and how it is adapted to its function. And just basically we need to talk about this part that is the root hair part. So the root hair itself is long, and this helps it to become closer in contact with the soil water, and also increases surface area for absorption of water and minerals. And this means that you can have a faster rate of absorption. So the root hair itself is also narrow, as in this part right here. So this helps you reduce the diffusion distance, and hence also makes absorption much more faster. Another thing that is special about them is that they do have lots and lots of mitochondria, and this helps to give them energy, because minerals you need to take them in by using active transport. Alright, so let's start our next topic. So before we get into that, I'm going to show you a little video as well. Hope you enjoy that too. Good morning, friends, and please say good morning to my mint plant right here. It's smelling so great. So from the previous lesson, we learned that we water plants from the bottom, because in the soil right here and at the root tip, you actually have the root hair cells that would absorb this water and also any minerals that are found inside the soil. And what we need to do now, as in the plants, is to actually get that water from the soil and up into the leaves. The reason being is because these guys are the ones that are going to carry out photosynthesis. So water is needed for photosynthesis, and what is actually important here is actually what can be found at the bottom of the leaves. So we can't really see anything right now, because, well, they are microscopic. If you guys remember, at the bottom of the leaves, we have specialized cells that is actually in charge of opening and closing the stomata, and that actually helps to pull. There's a force that pulls the water from the bottom and straight into the top. And also, if you guys don't know, sometimes, like in the morning, like, okay, it's really bright now, but in like those scary stories, you have like a lot of, like, what do you call that, fog, and some water actually escapes the leaves. That's why we need to water them all the time, because firstly, water is used up, and secondly, water escapes the bottom of the leaves. So now we're going to talk about that in theory. So see ya later. Should I have some tea? I don't know. Okay, so after watching that video, so we know the fact that water does enter the plant through the roots. And what happens after the absorption of water is that water will then be actually carried to the leaves, right? And this is carried out by xylem vessels that are found in the stem, and this leads to the veins of the leaf. So we were looking at last week, we were just looking at this part right here, where the root hair cells are just absorbing the water, and these are moving through over here the epidermis and then the cortex of the root, And then finally, in the middle of the root, you finally have your xylem vessels. So they transport water here via both diffusion and osmosis until they reach the xylem vessel. And finally, after the xylem vessel has water and minerals, then water will actually get transported up to the leaves. So, what is our learning objective of today? If you have your Cornell notes ready, please pause this video and write down your learning objective. Our learning objective is 6b, which is state that transpiration is the evaporation of water at the surface of the mesophyll cells, followed by the loss of water vapor from the leaves through the stomata. So what is our learning... we looked at the learning objective. What is our step to success? Today, you have to state all the processes that are involved in transpiration. Then you have to state where evaporation actually occurs as well. So first is on transpiration, but it has something to do with evaporation. We're going to talk about that later. And the third part is state where water vapor escapes the leaves to cause water loss. So if you can clear all of these 3 points, then you are going to be able to state the definition of transpiration. Okay, before we get into that as well, we have a lot of things to cover, and there's some stuff that you need to know before transpiration occurs, because water moves up a plant, and a plant itself is pretty long, and you're trying to go against gravity. So to go against gravity, you need some forces that help the water to rise, and there are 3 main forces. Okay, so again, let's recap. The plant root system is made up of your root hair cells, which is found in the root. So that's the root, and then in the middle of the root, you can find your xylem vessel as well over here, and somewhere in the middle of the root. Your root hair cells are found over here. So the root hair cells is mainly, their main job literally is just absorbing. However, xylem vessels are the ones that take the next step. What are the functions of the xylem vessels, you say? Xylem vessels have 2 main functions. The first one, which is our main topic, which is to transport water and dissolved mineral salts, for example, ions, from the roots to stem, leaves, and the fruits, which is right above the ground. Another function of xylem vessels is that they also provide support. That means that they keep them strong and standing for the aerial parts of the plant. Aerial means like at the top. So how does water move up the plant? There are 3 forces that causes water to move and rise up the plant. The first one is called root pressure. The second one is called capillarity. And the third one is called transpiration pull. So let's cover root pressure first. After water enters the root hair cells via osmosis and diffusion, they are also basically water is also carried to the xylem via osmosis and diffusion as well, just towards the center of the leaves. So just by osmosis and diffusion, it gets carried to the xylem vessel towards the center of, sorry, did I say leaf? I meant the root. Yeah, center of the root. Okay, so this causes a pressure called root pressure that forces water into the xylem towards the stem, so a little bit. So water will actually rise a little bit up due to that root pressure. So now you're going to get water to rise up to that level. But that's not enough for water to reach the leaves yet. So you need to have another type of force, and this is called capillarity. Capillarity is a tendency for liquids to travel upwards through a very narrow tube. So you can see this from this GIF. This tube is not even living, and you can see water moving up a little bit. So that is what we call capillarity. That phenomenon is called capillarity. Xylem vessels are themselves narrow tubes. Here is a picture. This is a real Xylem vessels that are captured through scanning electron microscopes, and you can see that they literally look like straws, and a bunch of straws, and with different sizes. But however, note that this is from a microscope, so this can be how many hundreds of times smaller than what it actually, maybe even thousands, I don't know, than it actually is. So it is super narrow, and it is also hollow like a straw. So if you guys have a straw at home, you can actually test out capillary action. Just get a drink, if you want, any drink, water, and then you get a transparent straw so that you can actually see it in action, and just dip that straw into your drink, and you can see that the water will climb up the straw, but see that yet it's not really climbing. It's called capillary action. And actually, the narrower the tube, the higher water will move up. So you can see over here, it moves up even more, lengthier when it is in a narrow tube, and these Xylem vessels are super narrow. So once the water is in the xylem itself, due to the root pressure, the second force, capillarity, will actually move and carry the water upwards even more. So now we have two forces bringing water even more upwards. However, it's still not enough to bring it to the leaves. So we have a third force, which is called transpiration pull. I think we learned in year 8 that force is a pusher or pull. So yes, transpiration pull is one of the forces. So with transpiration pull, you kind of need to remember the structure of the leaf itself. So over here, you can see that this is labeled as a xylem vessel because it is carrying water. And you can see that the water is actually moving through the mesophyll layer and moving out. So right here are your guard cells, which control the size of the stoma, and that water is actually moving out as well. But you don't really see water moving out as liquid, so of course water can change state. So we're going to talk about that later. Okay, firstly, transpiration pull. Transpiration pull is a force that draws up more water to replace water that has been lost by evaporation. So if you guys remember, evaporation is a change of state of water from liquid to gas, and this doesn't depend on any specific temperature. Because of transpiration pull, there's this continuous stream of water, just like that. And water and ions, they travel up the plant, and this is what we call the transpiration stream. So it's a very special name as well. And how can water actually move up and move up together is because of this other force called molecular cohesion. So molecular cohesion is the ability of water to pretty much stick to each other, and they're attracted to each other, and they won't easily let go. So if they are stuck together, everyone moves together. So now we're finally going to move on to what is transpiration and how did it cause that transpiration pull. So transpiration, so we start off with having to know the fact that water can enter the leaf first. So water mainly enters the photosynthesizing layer of the leaf called the mesophyll layer. This is only showing you guys the spongy, but it also actually, we're also talking about the palisade here. So water enters from the xylem vessels and into the mesophyll layer via diffusion and osmosis. There's also a thin layer of moisture that is surrounding the mesophyll layer. And transpiration is a whole process. There's a step for this. Transpiration actually starts from the evaporation of water from the surface of the mesophyll cells. So on the surface right here, you have the layer of moisture, yeah? and so they evaporate. So after evaporation, what happens is that this water vapor will then diffuse into the intercellular airspace, which is right here. And once it diffuses into the intercellular airspace, the water vapor is then lost to the atmosphere via diffusion as well. So that is pretty much what transpiration actually is. So if you guys look at this picture, this is also another microscope picture of a leaf. So if you just have a leaf lying down like you're holding it, this is literally that leaf itself. So I always talk to you guys about cutting tapak kuda, right? So if you cut the tapak kuda, but in a way you're cutting the leaf that you're cutting tapak kuda, this is what you guys are gonna get. And if you guys are looking at it under a microscope, so at the top layer here you have your cuticle, and this cuticle is waxy, it is also waterproof, and the upper epidermis is the one that makes it, that releases this, secretes it. And then if you guys can have a look here, you don't really see much green stuff here because the upper epidermis does not have any chloroplast. But then you can see more green stuff right here. So at this layer, you can see the palisade mesophyll, which is the photosynthesizing cells of the leaf, and also the circular type of cells right here is a spongy mesophyll. So remember, we were talking about how water needs to be transported to these parts, and water comes out from here, which is your vascular bundle, especially the xylem vessels. So once water moves through these cells via diffusion and osmosis, so what happens is that there's also, what you cannot see here is actually the layer of moisture. Now looking at the lower epidermis, it's right here. It also secretes also a waxy cuticle at the bottom, but there are specialized lower epidermal cells right over here. You can see them in a pair, and these are your guard cells. So your guard cells, they control the size of the pores, the stoma, and that is how the air from the atmosphere can get in contact with the air in the intercellular airspace. What I like about this picture is that you can see it 3D. You can actually see that there are little spaces, mini pockets of air that can be found within the leaf itself. So how do we define transpiration overall? Okay, firstly, talk about the process. Secondly, talk about where that process happens, and then what happens after that, and where does water finally escape. So this is literally your learning objective, but you have to really remember this and memorize it if you can. So firstly, transpiration, what is the process? It is the evaporation of water. Where? At the surface of mesophyll cells only. And then what happens after is that it is followed by the loss of water in the form of water vapor from the leaves, and it's lost through the stomata. So that is basically everything you need to memorize and learn about the definition of transpiration. So finally, let's finish off with our step to success. So state the processes involved in transpiration, just one, which is the evaporation of water. State where evaporation occurs, that is at the surface of mesophyll cells, because that's where you find the layer of moisture. And thirdly, state where water vapor escapes the leaves to cause water loss, and this is through the stomata. So because of this water loss, and you need to replace that water that is lost, that is how we get that transpiration pull, the force of finally bringing water up to the leaves. So I hope that this was okay for you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Have a good day.